Hey Hofstra fans, welcome inside this week's edition of the W.B. Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com. I'm Tom Brady. Once again, the pleasure to be joined by the head coach of the Hofstra wrestling team, Rob Anspach. Coach, thanks for the time today.
Thank you.
Now, of course, your team coming off a tournament up in Binghamton this past weekend. What are your final thoughts? Of course, you had some high finishers now on this weekend.
It was a good learning experience for us. We went up there, we had a couple questions, we got some answers, and we also figured out some things we need to work on. So, the first tournament, you're going to go up there, there's going to be some good wins, which we had. We had some disappointing losses, but overall I think the team wrestled hard, and it's things that we can definitely work on, and we have a couple months to get them straight.
Now, starting off at 125, the guy we talked about last week, a lot of promise for the season. Steve Manano falls in the final. Frank Crowley from Cornell. What did you see from Steve this past week?
Steve, I liked the way he wrestled. Even though he ended up second, I thought he did a great job throughout the tournament, pushing the pace, wrestling in his positions. He had a takedown to tie the match in the finals with 3 seconds left. We just had a mental lapse at the end of the match that cost him. Something that, those types of mistakes you can correct pretty easily. So overall, great job by Steve this weekend, but we got to eliminate those things if you want to actually bring home the hardware in St. Louis this year.
Now jumping up to 133, of course, one of the holes on your team this season, as we talked about, Jamie Franco goes 4-3, finishes 6th in the tournament. What are you impressed with from him from the tournament?
Well, Jamie, I think, wrestled better as the day got on. He was a little hesitant in the first match. As the tournament progressed, he seemed to open up his offense a little bit more, which is what we wanted from him. He had a nice win over a kid from Binghamton who's a junior college national champion coming over. He was a big transfer for him. So for him to get that victory, helps the confidence. As the day went on, he just continued to wrestle better. So we just need to keep improving at that weight class throughout the year.
Now 141, Luke Bite cruises to 2 victories before getting knocked out with an injury default. How frustrating is it for you as a coach to see a guy do so well in his first 2 matches and then have to take an injury default like that?
It hurts. It's never good when you see somebody get an injury. Fortunately, it's not as bad as we first thought. So there's a possibility of him wrestling this weekend. He's kind of day to day. But he looked great for the matches that he's wrestled. So we see the promise of what we can have at that weight class throughout the year. So it's exciting. Disappointed that he got hurt and he had to finish the day the way he did. But definitely we're looking forward to his return, and hopefully it'll be this weekend. But if not, there's not much you can do about it.
They had nobody wrestle at 149. Is that a little bit frustrating to not be able to get anybody some work in this tournament?
Well, it was frustrating that Vince was injured before the tournament and not able to do it. He was injured very late in the week, so we weren't able to really prepare for this weekend. But what we did have is we started preparing. As soon as he was injured, we started preparing for Wisconsin. We brought Justin Accordino in, talked to him about his weight. He will be wrestling 149 for us against Wisconsin. So our 49-pounder did get some work in. It was just up at 157 pounds. So I think we're looking pretty good at 149 for this weekend.
Now 157, Accordino and Banks both went 2-2. Maybe you were looking to get some answers there, but now, like you said, with some injuries, you might have found an answer by shifting some guys around.
Yeah, we found one answer and created a whole other problem. But that's kind of going to be the way it is with those guys. We have 3 guys that are very, very good wrestlers vying for 2 spots. Somebody's going to be disappointed at the end of the year. I thought Justin really wrestled well this weekend. No matches he lost. One match he kind of got caught. You kind of take it as, you got to just be better prepared. The other match that he lost, the kid was a round of 12 guy last year. We controlled the entire match. We just didn't come out on top in the score. But again, it's something we were looking for him to do, wrestle aggressively, and he did that. And now it's just really cleaning up what he did. So I was very happy with the way he competed. Tyler did a good job with some of his wins. He needs to work a little bit better on getting to his offense. He wrestled, the guy he lost to, Walter Peppelman from Harvard, is a returning All-American, very quality kid. But those are the matches we need to wrestle better in. Those are the types of guys we talk about beating to be a successful program. We can't be losing 12-0 to guys like that.
Now you jump up to 165. Of course, the only guy you had who finished first place in his bracket, that was PJ Gillespie, a perfect 5-0. What did you see out of PJ?
PJ did what he normally does. He controlled the tie-ups, he controlled the positions, he stayed in the positions that he's good. And when he does that, he is very difficult to beat. I'd like him to score some more points, but it was a very controlled win. He was never in any danger of losing any of the matches he wrestled. So, that's PJ. That's what he does. It's great to watch him wrestle. He's a guy that we count on every match to go out there and get a victory for us, and he did that this weekend.
174. Jermaine John makes his collegiate debut. He goes 2-2. What were you impressed with from him in his first collegiate match?
I like the way Jermaine listens during his matches. You tell him to do something in the middle of a match, and he goes out there and does it. So he makes mid-match adjustments. A lot of guys can't really do that, but he does it. It was a great experience for him. It kind of helped. I feel a lot better at the weight class now than I did going into the tournament. I watched Jermaine practice. I thought he looked great, but you never know until you see him in that competition. He went out there and he wrestled some good guys, and he wrestled very tough, and he came away with a couple wins. There's definitely some things we need to work on, but like I said, it's November, it's not March, so we have time to correct those things.
Ben Clymer, as we jump up again, another guy who finished in second place in this tournament for you, falls to a very talented wrestler in Steve Bosak from Cornell. What did you see from him, and were you pleased with how he was able to at least come in second?
Yeah, I liked, it was expected. He was a number 2 seed, and he finished second. So it was expected to do, he did what he was supposed to do. We beat Scheidel in the semifinals in another close match, and that's going to be the way it's going to be with that kid all the time. Scheidel's a very good wrestler. We were able to beat him last year in conferences, and it's nice to come back and continue that. It wasn't a one-time match that we beat him. We got lucky. Now we beat him 2 times in a row, and I don't expect to lose to that kid anymore. But we need to close the gap on the guys like Steve Bosak, who's a returning All-American, ranked 3rd or 4th in the country. That's the next level that we need to get to, so Ben needs to keep improving. He had a very good match. He got his wrist caught and gave up back points, and that was the only scoring in the match. So we just need to continue to improve, work on bottom, and work on all phases of it with that now.
And so it's close to that next step, it seems like. So you're just waiting, trying to work him hopefully throughout the season.
Yeah, we need to continue to work on it. He has all the tools to do it. We just got to get him a little bit more confidence in taking his shots on his feet. I thought the one thing that I liked is he was able to ride the guy for 2 minutes in the 3rd period and try and work for a turn. We had never been able to hold that kid down, so we see that his top work is improving. I think overall this weekend our top work was very good, and that is a direct correlation to our assistant coaches and Gregor Gillespie and Dan Valamont bringing that type of mentality to the room.
And as we jump up again, 197, Matt Lowe wins his first match before falling in the semifinals in what was kind of a smaller bracket there. What did you see from him?
Well, Matt did a great job his first match. And he went out there, took the kid down, wrestled really hard, pinned the kid right away. We need Matt to do a better job in his next matches. He's wrestling number 1 kid in the country, and it looked like he was a little hesitant. So we need him to go out there and just have more confidence in himself that he can wrestle with those guys. He definitely can. He showed it last year. He just needs to get back into that feeling, and we need to continue to get better with him. And as we continue progressing throughout the year, I think that confidence will come, and he'll do a fine job for us.
And up at heavyweight, Paul Snyder loses his first match to Maciej Jakim, then rattles up a couple of straight victories and faces him again in the 3rd place match and winds up coming up with a victory. So how impressed with you are in Paul Snyder to be able to adjust, come off that loss, and then wind up getting the win?
Well, he did a great job. Anytime you lose your first round, you get that mindset like, well, what just happened? And a lot of guys pack it in. He didn't do that. He regrouped. He came out there and won, I think, 5 matches in a row, including the guy that put him in the loser's bracket. So that says a lot about Paul, where he's come from years past. I don't think he would have done that. This year, as somebody that we're looking for, he wants to be a leader on this team, and those are the things you have to do. What we need to do now is make sure we don't lose that first match. And we talked about what happened in that match. He said he wasn't quite ready. He didn't feel great about it. Didn't get the warm-up he needed. So those are things that we need to correct as the year goes on, and you kind of tweak things, what you're eating, how you warm up, and do those things after weigh-ins so that you feel the best you could possibly feel for that first match, because in dual meets you only get one. So there's no mulligans or anything like that. You have to be ready to wrestle. I think it was a hard learning experience, but one that if we use it, will benefit him in the future.
Now you look at some of the guys making their debuts again, guys like Joey Gazinski, Jermaine John, George Paylock, Brandon Bright. What did you see from some of those guys, and what areas do they need to really improve to maybe make an impact this season?
Well, the thing I liked about them is all of them were we're pushing the pace and trying to wrestle the style we are having everybody wrestle. I mean, we've talked about it from day one that they got into this room as, hey, we're looking to score points this year. That's what we want to do. And they really went out there and they looked to do that. Now, they still have some growing pains to do. You're a freshman, you're wrestling some very good kids. You know, Joey ended up with Stephen Keith from Harvard, and he actually lost to the kid Hunter from Binghamton, who's a seasoned guy already. And not that you expect them, but you expect the mistakes to be made. And the one thing that I like seeing from all the guys, they went out there, they didn't take a backseat to anybody they wrestled. They went out there and they tried to win the matches. They wrestled, they took shots. And when you do those things, we can come back in the room and we can correct those things a lot easier than we can go if we had to say, hey, you have to try and shoot. You have to go out there with some confidence. Those things are take a lot longer to correct than a technical mistake that you can sit there and, okay, this is why we didn't score in that position and this is what you need to do. So I'm happy with the way all I think 4 or 5 of them competed for us from a pushing the pace standpoint and really kind of getting what our MO, what we want our wrestling to be this year, which is scoring points. So they did a great job.
Did you find it tougher to get some of the more established guys, some of the veterans, to try to adopt your style and go for that more offensive push this weekend?
They, to a degree, yes. You know, they've been successful doing what they're doing, and it's kind of, you know, you're kind of going, hey, you know, this is what I've been doing. But at the end of the day, they're buying into it because the difference is, hey, you're not an All-American yet. This is where you need to be. In order to do that, you have to listen to what we're doing. This is what the guys do. And they bought into it, and they're trying to adapt. It's going to take them a little bit longer, I think, because they're so set in their ways, but they are coming around to it. So.
Big match coming up this weekend, Wisconsin. You mentioned it last week. You're expecting a great atmosphere. What are you going to be telling your guys to try to keep them focused and maybe even a little bit calm against obviously a storied Big Ten program like this?
Yeah, I mean, just wrestle within yourself. They don't need to do anything different to win this match. You know, it's not when you look at it on paper. I believe we're the favorite team. So be excited about it. It's a great opportunity for yourself. But don't get overwhelmed by it. It's just a wrestling match at the end of the day. It's 7 minutes of your life. You've done it 100 times, more than that. You know, so at the end of the day, it's a wrestling match. Stay focused, stay calm, and stay in the positions that you're good at. And we should come away with a victory.
And what jumps out at you from this Wisconsin team coming in?
Well, we know what to expect from them. They're a Big Ten program. They're going to be well coached. They're going to try and push the pace on their feet. They're going to hand fight very hard. I mean, that's just what you have to be ready for. We have to be ready to match their intensity. And if we do that, we should come away with the victory.
And does it help having a guy who was an All-American at Wisconsin to maybe give you some insight into their program before in Zach Down?
Yeah, most of the guys he's wrestled with have kind of graduated, so it's a new group, but it's, you know, it's a wrestling match. There's no secret moves out there. It's just one of these things. You know, we have film on their guys, and we're going to go back and watch it with our guys and kind of just get some tidbits on it. But at the end of the day, we got to focus on what we do, and if we worry about ourselves and staying in our positions, it really doesn't matter what they do.
Now, as a coach, what's going to make you happy from this match this weekend?
A victory. A victory, but even more importantly, just, you know, sometimes you can win a match 3-2 and guys don't wrestle well, and you can lose a match, you know, 10-9, but the guy really wrestled and competed. I want our guys to go out there and compete for 7 minutes, get the crowd excited about it. That always makes it fun to watch when guys are going out there to try and score points instead of hang on. So that's what we're going to preach as we are the whole season, scoring points, make it exciting. And if we do those things, we're going to be okay.
All right, Coach Rob Anspach, thanks for joining us. And that'll do it for us inside this week's edition of the W. Mason Coaches Report.